Men are born soft and supple. Dead, they are stiff and hard. Plants are born tender and pliant. Dead, they are brittle and dry. Thus, whoever is stiff and inflexible is a disciple of death. Whoever is soft and yielding is a disciple of life. The hard and stiff will be broken. The soft and supple will prevail. In our society, strength is often revered, while weakness is looked down upon. We associate strength with resilience, vitality, and the ability to accomplish great feats. Strength helps us overcome obstacles, assert our will, and remain unwavering in the face of adversity. It propels us forward, makes us more capable, and often earns admiration from others. It's easy to see why strength is praised. We celebrate muscular physiques, the success of entrepreneurs flaunting their wealth, and the political leaders who speak forcefully and act boldly. Conversely, weakness is generally viewed as undesirable. We link it to fragility, incompetence, and vulnerability, believing it to signify failure or powerlessness. In many cases, weakness is something we hide or try to avoid, as it can feel like a barrier to success. We may even feel ashamed of our weaknesses, seeing them as flaws that prevent us from reaching our full potential. However, there is more to weakness than meets the eye. Weakness, at its core, doesn't imply a lack of power. Rather, it speaks to the absence of strength in a particular area. Strength is often associated with being hard, unyielding, and firm. But what if we consider that true strength may also lie in our ability to embrace vulnerability, in being flexible and adaptable, in knowing when to yield? Sometimes, the gentleness of weakness can provide the space for growth, healing, and transformation, as it allows us to flow with life rather than resist it. True wisdom, according to many philosophies, lies in understanding the balance between strength and weakness, knowing when to stand firm and when to let go. Just as a bamboo bends in the wind but does not break, we too can learn to navigate life with a blend of both resilience and softness, achieving more by embracing both our strengths and weaknesses. Weakness, often associated with softness and malleability, should not be seen as a lack of power. In fact, softness, in the right context, holds immense potential to overcome strength. Lao Tzu, the Taoist sage, recognized that strength is not always the answer. He believed that, in many situations, it is the softness, the yielding, and the adaptability that holds the key to success. Strength, while valuable, may not always be the most effective force in our lives. Often, it is through yielding rather than fighting, adapting rather than opposing, and submitting rather than dominating that we find the path forward. This concept of softness is central to Taoist philosophy, which teaches that there is power in being gentle, in allowing things to unfold naturally rather than forcing them. In fact, the Tao itself is a force that works through flexibility and subtlety. When we embrace this softer approach, we align ourselves more harmoniously with the flow of life. There is a story of a king who only sought out strong, courageous men to protect him, believing that their strength would keep him safe. One day, a philosopher visited the king and suggested a more profound strategy. He proposed that true security does not come from imposing fear, but from cultivating a situation where others would not dare to strike the king. But the philosopher continued, even if people were afraid, they could still harbor the desire to harm. So, the real wisdom lay in creating an environment where others not only feared him, but respected and loved him, where the king's concerns became shared concerns. This strategy, the philosopher argued, was far superior to merely relying on strength and courage. By nurturing respect and love, the king could inspire loyalty and peace, something far deeper and more enduring than fear. The lesson here is clear. True strength lies not in rigidity or force, but in the subtle power of gentleness, adaptability, and respect. By embracing softness, we can achieve far more than by simply opposing or controlling the world around us. In yielding, we find freedom. In adapting, we find resilience. In submission, we find connection. The power of softness is often the most powerful force we can wield. The king was greatly inspired when the philosopher proposed that he rule with virtue and integrity. Already in possession of military power, he realized that by treating his people with kindness and fairness, he would gain their respect and love rather than fear. His popularity, founded on these principles, would surpass that of many sages. In such a position, the king would not need to rely on forceful protection because very few would even think of challenging him. His strength would lie in the goodwill he cultivated, not in the weapons he wielded. This stands in stark contrast to a leader who rules through fear and intimidation. Although such a leader might secure their position through strength, they would continuously face opposition and hatred. They would need to bolster their defenses, creating a cycle of ever-increasing tension and conflict. The more they sought control through fear, the more resistance they would encounter, leading to isolation from their people. This is an exhausting, unsustainable position. History teaches us that tyrants rarely last long. Their reigns crumble from within, as they are opposed by the very people they seek to control. Lao Tzu famously wrote that the worst kind of leader is one who is despised. A good leader, on the other hand, places the well-being of the people above their own and earns their love and loyalty. The best leader, however, is barely noticed, for their influence is gentle and pervasive. The power of softness, then, proves superior. While brute strength may achieve temporary success, it is the soft approach that leads to lasting harmony. Softness allows a leader to prevent conflicts before they arise, fostering an environment where problems are less likely to occur. As Lao Tzu reminds us, the truly wise leader focuses on creating favorable conditions, rather than constantly fighting battles that could have been avoided. As Lao Tzu wisely said, "Take care of difficult problems while they are still easy. Do easy things before they become too hard." There is a story of Huang, an animal caretaker, who had a remarkable ability to tame wild creatures like tigers and wolves. His secret lay not in force, but in understanding the animal's nature. He had learned to tame them so well that they could roam freely in his courtyard, without causing harm or fear. When Huang took on an apprentice, he shared his wisdom. The key to taming these fierce animals was to approach them with patience, caution, and respect for their instincts. One should never try to impose their will or provoke their aggression. Instead, the caretaker worked by adapting to the animal's needs and nature. For example, he never fed the tigers live prey, as doing so would trigger their violent instincts. He also made sure not to feed them when they were too hungry or too full, maintaining a balanced state of contentment. He understood that when they were too excited, they might grow angry, and when they were too comfortable, they might become complacent. The goal was to keep them in a state of equilibrium, neither too happy nor too upset. By using this gentle and balanced approach, Huang was able to keep the tigers at ease, allowing them to roam peacefully in his garden. He did not rely on force. Instead, he carefully observed the animal's behavior and adapted his actions to fit their nature. This story serves as a reminder that the soft approach is often the most intelligent one. While force may seem like a quick solution, it is in the art of adaptation and patience that true success is found. In life, as in taming tigers, wisdom lies in understanding and flowing with the natural course of things. True power does not arise from anger, impatience, or fear, but from wisdom and understanding. Consider, for example, the vast prison population in the United States. A growing body of research suggests that imprisoning people does more harm than good. It does not help them improve their outlook on life, nor does it facilitate their successful reintegration into society. Instead, it is a harsh and blunt response to crime, driven by fear and anger rather than by thoughtful wisdom. Contrast this with Finland, where the approach to incarceration is radically different. In Finnish prisons, there are no locks or gates. Prisoners do not wear uniforms and are free to leave the premises to shop for groceries in the city. They are allowed to work, study, and care for themselves. The focus is on rehabilitation, not punishment, allowing inmates to develop self-control, rather than living under constant control as in traditional prisons. This method fosters personal growth and self-improvement, which better prepares them for a productive life outside. Despite skepticism toward this gentler approach, Finland's system works. The rate of reoffending among those who have passed through these open prisons is among the lowest in the world. This illustrates the power of softness. It addresses the root of the issue, not just the symptoms. The causes of crime are complex, often stemming from difficult childhoods, poverty, lack of education, or sheer misfortune. Rather than simply locking people away, the soft approach seeks to address these underlying factors, offering support and opportunities that reduce the desire to engage in criminal behavior. In the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu speaks of the power of softness, using water as an example. Water, though soft and yielding, moves effortlessly, flowing through obstacles with ease. It teaches us that softness, when applied wisely, can be more powerful and effective than force. Just as water adapts to the shape of its container, so too can we find strength in adaptability, patience, and understanding. Through this approach, we can address the root causes of problems and create a more harmonious and balanced world. Water, though soft and yielding, is a powerful force. Even if you blow over it, water bends with the air, never resisting but adapting effortlessly. It mixes with anything it encounters, yet its very nature is such that it easily becomes polluted, always influenced by its surroundings. It is not fixed in shape, but flows according to the container it occupies. If you obstruct it, it simply changes direction, finding a way around the obstacle. Water teaches us that it is not about resistance, but about adaptation. It doesn't strive to accomplish anything, nor does it hold onto a specific form. When it is heated, it evaporates. When cooled, it freezes. It seeks no goal, no dominance, simply flowing in harmony with the forces around it. It does not rise to higher places. It flows naturally to the lowest point, seeking the path of least resistance. This is where water's true power lies, its ability to adapt, to yield, and yet to persist. In many ways, water appears weak, but its softness is its strength. While many admire strength, they often look down upon softness. We are taught to push back, to stand firm, to defend our positions, and to dominate. We believe in being unyielding, hard, and rigid. Yet the ancient Taoists understood that softness is not inferior to strength. In fact, they saw softness as a force more powerful than rigidity. Lao Tzu, in the Tao Te Ching, wrote, "Water is the softest and most yielding substance. Yet nothing is better than water for overcoming the hard and rigid, because nothing can compete with it." This profound wisdom tells us that while the soft and yielding may seem weaker, it has the strength to overcome the hard and unbending. However, few have mastered the art of applying this wisdom. Thus, we learn from water that true power lies in flexibility, in being able to adapt to circumstances without losing our essence. The soft can indeed overcome the hard, not through force, but through patience and persistence. Imagine a room where a group of men are engaged in a discussion on a particular topic. Among them, some speak with authority despite having little understanding of the subject, while others with some knowledge counter the misleading ideas with their own arguments. In the midst of this, there is one man who knows the most about the topic, yet he remains silent, listening attentively and asking thoughtful questions. Who then is the wisest in the room? Is the one who, although possessing the greatest knowledge, chooses humility and receptiveness over dominance. He doesn't seek to impose his ideas, but instead understands that by staying in the background, he opens himself to new insights. His approach is not to assert, but to absorb, not to fight, but to listen. Through his quiet approach, he goes beyond rigid argumentation. He understands that true wisdom comes not just from knowing, but from the willingness to learn continuously. By adopting a humble stance, he positions himself in the most fertile ground for knowledge, where the water flows, not where it stagnates. We often praise firmness in our principles, believing it to be a virtue that protects us from deception and disorder. Standing firm gives us clarity and stability, and it can certainly help us navigate life's challenges. However, when we become too rigid, we close ourselves off to new perspectives. We risk becoming inflexible and unable to adapt, thus alienating ourselves from the natural flow of life. The world evolves constantly, and those who cling too tightly to their fixed ideas risk becoming like dead wood in a blooming forest. Life, by its very nature, is change, and to live harmoniously with it, we must be willing to bend, to shift, to adapt. The strongest aren't those who refuse to bend, but those who find the greatest harmony in adapting to their ever-changing circumstances. Survival of the fittest, as nature teaches us, is not about raw strength, but about adaptability. Those who bend and yield, like the soft river that carves through rock, will survive and thrive. The rigid and unyielding will eventually break, while the soft and yielding will overcome. If this video resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe to continue receiving content that challenges and nourishes both the mind and soul. We'd love to hear your thoughts or questions in the comment section below. Until next time, may you stay wise, stay stoic, and continue your pursuit of a life filled with purpose, balance, and peace.